all of my investors started as my clients.
Okay.
And they saw that I did what I said. If I say I'm going to call you on Friday night, I'm going to call you on Friday night. And if I don't, you're at least going to get a text that says I'm in the middle of something, I'll call you tomorrow. You need to wow your clients. It could be something as simple as going over at 8 o'clock on a night to install a thermostat.
Real estate professionals, welcome back to the RMG Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Reed Moore, and we are going to bring you another one of the Master Series. And I am thrilled to be here with a dear friend of mine, somebody that is one of two people I call when I need just wise counsel in real estate, John Thomas Sinclair.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here, my friend.
Yeah.
So, how long ago did we meet?
When did you move to Coeur d'Alene?
Oh man, so it must have been 10 years ago now. Yeah, wow. So we've been kind of in a relationship for about 10 years. We've done some Ironman stuff together, and it's just been awesome to watch you in your real estate business, watch you as a leader, watch you as a husband and a father, and pick your brain around all of those things, and an investor, of course, which I'm sure we'll get into. So tell us a little bit about yourself and just give us kind of the lay of the land.
We moved here from Tennessee 20-something years ago, so we've been here a while. We have 8 kids. 3 grandkids now, which is crazy, but yeah, we do. We do a lot of investing and I run a small real estate team in Coeur d'Alene.
Excellent. How long have you been in the business now?
Since 98.
Since 98. Okay, excellent. Well, like we were talking about, the reason I think that's important is when we do the Master Series, it's all about talking to people that I have the opportunity to say, hey, our listeners should listen to this person. And you've been in the industry long enough to get kicked in the teeth more than a few times and get back up again and keep going.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What was the first hard lesson that you learned in real estate?
Oh, man. I guess just getting into commission sales and just... going from a factory job to just commission sales and realizing that if you don't do the work, you don't get the paycheck.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I was actually kicked in the teeth, but you go a while without a paycheck and you feel kicked in the teeth. And
sure.
I think that's a fear that I may need some therapy because I always feel like it's just like right here. Something bad's going to happen. You're not going to sell another house ever again or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all commission people or not, but that's definitely a fear that motivates me.
Yeah, there's that interesting kind of motivation that comes with, maybe instead of having one boss, you now have lots of bosses. And if you go to having 0 people that you work for, you're functionally like you wake up every day and you're out of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the ways I like to start these conversations is just, why should somebody listen to you?
I'd say someone should listen to me if they were interested in running a mission-driven, sphere-based business. Investing. I like to invest. I try to invest with little to no money down, or at least at the end of the project, get my money back so that I can go do it again. So that's something I feel like I'm pretty good at. Raising capital, things like that. And then, I guess, family life with having a big family and running my own business. I think there's a lot that I've learned over the years in that realm.
So there's lots to dive into, but let's just dive into that one. How have you been, because you are an awesome dad, how have you raised a family of 8 kids? You have a great marriage and you run a big real estate and investing business. Walk me through what you've learned to be able to navigate that.
Well, I definitely couldn't do it without my wife, who's been amazing to handle so much of the pieces with the kids. But I would say being busy causes me to focus on special times and just not take them all for granted. Like today's a kid's birthday and we went out specifically for 2 hours to do something that he really wanted to do. And we worked that into the work day. So much so that I was apologizing over and over. Hey, sorry, Lincoln, I got to go check on one more house. I got to get the water on in this house. I got to meet the cleaner over here. And then we're going to go do the snowboard thing. And he's used to that. And so incorporating it into my life like that, they're not 2 different things. It's one thing. And all the kids know this is what dad does.
So in your kids kind of knowing this is what dad does, what have been the positive outcomes of that for your kids?
I think all of them know how to make money. If they had to make money right now without having an hourly job, they could all go find a way to make money. They all seem to be very entrepreneurial. We listen to podcasts, or I'll tell stories I've learned from podcasts as they're with me. So I try to teach them the things along the way.
What are the biggest things that you think that they've observed from you? You know, now that you're watching your kids, some of them are older. What are the things that you think that they caught along the way?
I hope they caught that gratefulness, that that's a really big part of my life, is to stay grateful for things and show people that I'm grateful. So staying in a spot of gratitude. Definitely a work ethic of just always going, appreciating the people that we're working with, appreciating our vendors, and they've helped with all our fall festivals where we have lots of people come to our property and we entertain them, and so they've seen that whole process, and I really feel like they've gotten a good overview of the whole operation, or at least that's my goal that they have. Awesome. My hope that they have.
Love it. So you mentioned a mission-driven, sphere-based business. So walk me through what that means.
I guess, Dave Ramsey said, if you live like no one else later, you can live like no one else. And he also said, if you live like no one else later, you can give like no one else. Mm-hmm. And so we've just recently hit a spot where we're able to donate more and more to more causes. And it's been interesting doing that and rolling that into our real estate business and seeing how by giving of ourselves and joining nonprofits and helping with those nonprofits, how they can also help our business, mm-hmm. and using what I've learned in my skill sets to be a bridge between all these different communities. So that's my mission-driven portion. And then sphere-based is just, once you work with us, we're probably not going to leave you alone. And as long as we get along good, there's no sense for you to have anyone else as your real estate agent or for any real estate needs.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you build that? Like what were, if you were going to take it and make it not like, well, I'm just awesome, right? But say, here's how a listener can get to the place where a significant amount of their business, maybe all of their business, comes from their sphere. Like, walk me through the steps that you would coach them or teach them to do.
My first broker is one of my best friends. Her name's Belinda. She's in a small town, and she taught me how to do business, and I didn't know anything better, and it was the best thing ever. Someone needed a house painted. Belinda was on the phone getting her contractors to help paint the house. If no one showed up, she'd show up with a paintbrush and whatever, vacuum the house, do whatever. So she always taught me to go above and beyond. And I just thought that's how business was done. Mm-hmm. Well, whenever you do that and you go above and beyond, people tend to like that and they come back around for more. So then it's just staying in touch with those people. I'm a big texter. I'm not a phone guy. I will use the phone, but it's not uncommon for me to drive by your house and say, hey, just driving by, thought of you. How's the backyard addition or whatever you're mm-hmm. doing. People love to bring you along for that process. You're the only one who saw the house before. And so if you know that they're doing something, that's an easy way to stay in touch with people. If someone's house in the neighborhood happens to go pending or active, it's not uncommon for me to just randomly text it, hey, Rita, just saw that your neighbor 2 doors down is on the market, thought you'd like to know. So it's super easy touches. I'm not usually ever asking for anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're doing that, and then what do you do to underwrite that? That's so there's a lot of just I love my people, I'm paying attention, and it's top of mind that I should be talking to them. What do you do behind the scenes to systematically kind of bridge the gap?
We have a great CRM. We use a program called Follow Up Boss. That's worked really great for us. We've tried other things, and the whole time I've thought Follow Up Boss was so good that I didn't mm-hmm. ever leave it. So I was paying for 2 systems for a while. Anyway, so people are in there, and we can definitely sort by who we haven't talked to or who's hasn't been touched. Anniversaries, birth dates, things like that are all in there. We don't always do that, but they're there, and if we want a touch, it's all in the system, and it's going to come up as a reminder.
Awesome. Okay. And then what about, do you do newsletters? Do you do anything like that?
We do emails mm-hmm. once a month.
Okay. What does an email from you consist of?
It's very simple. I used to have it like big and want beautiful graphics, and I would get all the emails from maybe teams like yours, and they're all beautiful, and they've got a big admin to put them together. And my coach got on to me and said, keep it simple. So a few bullet points. It's a topic, a few bullet points, a little bit about the market. That's
awesome.
Always the goal.
Okay. So one of the things I've watched you do over the years is use your real estate business to lever yourself into being an investor, a very accomplished investor, right? And it's interesting because I think you use real estate sales and real estate sales business for exactly what it's meant to do, which is to print cash, make money, to be able to turn around and now put that money to work. Mm-hmm. Was that always something that you did, or was there a transition?
I was fortunate again with having Belinda as my first broker. She's always had more than 50 rentals, so it wasn't uncommon for me to think, oh, one day I'm going to have a lot of rentals. Another good friend in Tennessee was a guy named Mike Jones who worked at a factory with me, and he took me aside when I was like 19 years old and told me how he got to buying properties, and then I'd watch him and his wife at the time buy properties and fix them up, and he had a lot of properties too. So I had mentors around me who had these, and then I got all my experience about investing initially from books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or Buying Real Estate with No Money Down. I forgot the guy's name. He's long gone now. But anyway, it all just seemed attainable. It was like, if you do this, you can get that. And so once I kind of figured out, how this works, then you can do it again and again and again. And I enjoyed it. We like working on the houses and watching the transformation.
Got it. So you flip properties, but then you also hold properties. How many doors do you and your partners hold right now?
We've got 81 properties.
Okay.
81 units.
81 units. Awesome. Okay. And how long did it take you to get there?
We had another one last week, so we're always going. Bought the first property in 98, so.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, along the way, we've bought a couple of big ones, maybe a 10 unit or a 17 unit that really helped, but kind of always on the lookout.
Okay. So you're just constantly flipping properties and buying and holding properties and just building your portfolio.
Yeah. We really rarely flip. We really try to always hold. It's always, if we can get into the property and get financing, need to keep it.
Yeah. So if somebody is listening to this and they're building their real estate career, like my mindset is you need to go make active income so that way you can feed your family, and then that's going to fuel your investing.
That's because you're smart.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know where that was going to go.
Well, no, seriously. A lot of people think it's an easy overnight thing that you can do, but the truth is you do need some good income to make this work. And then when you get that good income, you don't need to go to Disneyland every year, or you need to be frugal with it and invest that, set it aside.
Yeah. So you started doing that a long time ago, and you've been building that portfolio. And how did you get started with being somebody who is trustworthy with other people's money? Because I'm guessing that you didn't fund all of this yourself. Right. You used hard money or other people's money. Was there a point where people started trusting you with being the guy to deploy their capital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, there was a point. I was working for some investors as a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And Amanda and I had found a great deal on a property, and I really wanted it, and we just couldn't figure out a way to make it work without selling another property. And so I was at one of my investors' rehabs while he was working at it. I was telling him about the project, kind of hinting, but I didn't come out and ask for the money. And we just talked, and he said, "Well, JT, do you need to borrow some money?" It was really that easy. And he had all the terms, which were atrocious. Looking back, they weren't great terms, but it got us going. And then we sold our house, paid him off, and just kind of kept doing that with that private investor. And that showed me how you could work with a private investor and the power of a private investor.
Yeah.
And I guess before that, my first broker had always taught me, you should ask the seller, hey, do you want to cash out this property, or would you like to be the investor and make some money on this as the lender? Would you like to be the lender and make money just as the lender? You get interest, I handle the leaky toilets, I handle everything. And so that was easy for me because I thought that's what you ask every seller.
Yeah.
So I pretty much do ask every seller, not thinking that I'm specifically going to buy it, but it's a good thing to know. Would you like to own or finance this?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's easy in real estate sales to get blinders on and just go out and say my job is to make you the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. The problem with that is we have no idea if that's actually what that person wants, and a lot of times if we're not there to be the trusted guide and educate them, they don't necessarily know what options are available to them, even like owner financing. Mm-hmm. My parents who have not made a ton of money over their life, but have been really wise with their money, they carry a note on a property right now that makes them $6,000 a month in passive cash flow. And if you've been frugal and you don't live a big life, like a big expensive life, $6,000 a month is...
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money, right? That's really good. And there's just those opportunities. So how does somebody who doesn't grow up with your pedigree start changing their mindset around how to communicate with a buyer or a seller, especially a seller, around the options that are available to them, and then putting themselves in the path of opportunity.
I think you need to take yourself out of it. Yourself may think this person needs the most amount of money, and what they really want is to be done with the house right now.
Yeah.
And so you really need to just ask questions and find out what they want, and ask them lots of questions to help them find out what they want. So ask those questions like, are you actually interested in moving all your couches and furnitures and painting and decluttering your house? Or might you just want a cash offer as is? We work with as is investors who come in and they pay cash for properties like this. And then you go through those scenarios. I could get you this as is. We could close in X amount of days, and it's super easy. There's not going to be inspections or no hassle. It's just going to be very easy. Or I can help you do blah, 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 and we could get you this number.
Yeah.
And be realistic whenever you're explaining what it's going to take to get from here to here, because depending on where they're at, they may have zero desire to get here.
Yeah.
And they may just be totally fine right here. You can sell my house in 2 weeks, and I can have 3 weeks after possession to move out and buy my next whatever. And that may be completely appealing to them.
Yeah. I did a flip 2 years ago, and no, it was last year. I did a flip last year, and I gave the people the options, and they couldn't wrap their head around the gap between here's what this property's worth, all fixed up and everything, and here's what I'll give you for it. And so I actually gave them my spreadsheet that I ran my numbers on, and I literally just walked them through every line. I said, this is the amount of money that I will make in 6 months when all of these things are done, and here's the expense. And they looked at that and they said, yeah, there's no way we're going to do that. And I bought the house, right? There's a very logical, there can be, if somebody's intimidated by this whole conversation process, there's this limiting belief that pops in, and that is, well, if you buy things for cash, like, you're screwing the seller. And it's has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what are their needs.
Yeah. In my scenario, I never said that I was going to be the buyer. It's just, we have buyers like this, and if I'm in a position to buy it, I'm not hiding that. It's my wife and I are buying properties, and we'd like to buy this one.
Yeah.
So we can give you this number.
Yeah. So walk me through, if you were a newer agent, or let's just say you were newer to this mindset, what would be your path to get started down this road of number one, investing, but number two, being somebody who's trusted or trustworthy with other people's money?
So to be trustworthy with their money, all of my investors started as my clients.
Okay.
And they saw that I did what I said. If I say I'm going to call you on Friday night, I'm going to call you on Friday night. And if I don't, you're at least going to get a text that says I'm in the middle of something, I'll call you tomorrow or whatever. So there is that communication. You can't drop the ball. Like if you say you're going to do it, you have to do it, or you have to communicate why it wasn't done. And that's huge. So it doesn't even have to be real estate investing. I think Diana or somebody said how you act in the small things is how you act in the big things. So they see that pattern of when JT says something, he's going to follow through with it. When he gives us numbers on our evaluations, they're going to be close. He's trustworthy. So I think that would be the biggest thing. But it kind of all goes back to, you do need a successful business somewhere that's showing them success in that business too. So it's all about social success with whatever it is. So he's successful selling houses, successful flipping houses. And then once you do your first rehab, flip, whatever, share that social success so that people can see, oh, they took this from that and turned it into something amazing. And share the whole thing. When we're now getting $2,000 a month for rent, it's going for our mortgage is $1,400 or whatever the situation is, and let them know, okay, he understands all of these things, so they feel very confident with that.
Yeah. It's interesting because my experience with the people that I've worked with hard money is, one, is the people I've worked with have just been awesome, right? Number two, they're not dumb or easily fleeced. And it's because they're the guys that will look you in the eye and try to figure out, who are you, right? And we've done a lot of deals that started out with a handshake and just getting to know each other. And by the way, here's my track record. And it's really interesting because if you want access over a long period of time to be the trusted resource for other people and to have them as a resource for you, it requires a lot of consistency over a lot of years, right? At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And it's only going to get easier too. the more and more you do.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So what about the ability? So there's a piece of investing that's just intoxicating. It's fun. And so then you'll have people that they want to invest for the sake of investing, but the deal doesn't make sense. How do you build the discipline to say no to a deal or to know how to say yes?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's easy because I usually always want to refinance out with a normal bank. With interest rates as high as they are now, that hasn't been the norm. But historically, my goal has always been to buy a house, fix it up, get it rented, get it performing, and then go to a bank, get it refinanced, pay off that private lender. So to do that, I always had to have 25% equity on the back end. So after I purchase it, do all of the rehabs, get it rented, it needs to be worth 25% more than I have into it. And so that's how I would always run my numbers. So I would just back all of that out from the start. And if it didn't make sense, I wouldn't buy it. Because our goal, we are successful in selling real estate, but I'm not really successful enough to have as many doors as I do and have 25% from the get-go in all of these properties.
Right.
So that was kind of our model all along, and I've just always been doing that. I didn't know it was called Burr until I was watching some podcast. I called my partner, hey, that thing we've been doing, it's called Burr.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Somebody wrote a book on it.
And he said, what do you mean? I tell him, he's like, oh yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. We've been doing this thing anyway. So that keeps me I can't fudge those numbers, or in the end, that money's going to be out of my pocket. And I'm just really stingy with my own money. I don't like doing that.
Yeah. I love that because it builds in. That's a big buffer, right? There's a lot of people that would flip properties that you couldn't hold because of that. And there's this, I've experienced this personally, right? Where here's the number I need to make, but I would do it for this. And that's kind of lean, but I probably still do it. And what the heck, why not? Right? And you start getting more and more lean, and there's a discipline or lack of discipline there if you don't have some sort of standard that you stick to. Okay, so give me your pitch or your case for not flipping properties but holding them, right? Hey, I can flip this property. I make 60 G's.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that?
And we did. We definitely did. To get started, we would flip a lot of properties. With enough time, I saw what those properties were worth 3, 4, 5 years later.
Yes.
And so there does come a point in your career, if you're going to do this, where you have to flip the switch and say, it would be nice to have that $20,000, $30,000 right now. Like, we could go to Disneyland, we could buy the boat, we could do whatever. Or we could just trick ourselves into getting joy out of refinancing it, calling that our win, and thinking long term. And Robert Kiyosaki once said, don't ever sell the asset. If you need money out of it, just refinance it. Now, he wasn't talking right after you bought it, but later, 10 years later, if you need money, don't refinance it. Just pull that. Don't sell it. Just pull that money out in the form of a refinance and then have the tenants pay for it again. And so that always stuck to me. We could control this asset. We could keep it. As long as I keep doing well in my real estate business, I don't really need that flip money.
Yeah.
And just kind of had to do a mental game in our head, to say it's going to be better in the long run if we can keep this asset.
It's amazing because I have another buddy of mine that was on the podcast, and he's bought properties for years and years and years. He probably has 100 doors or somewhere similar to you, and a good number of those purchases weren't extraordinary deals at the time. But he bought them 20 years ago. And now you look at it and he looks like a genius because the house is worth 3 or 4 times what he paid for it. That's not even including his debt pay down, right? When you look at $30,000 worth versus $300,000 just because of your patience, that's significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where, if you were talking to an agent right now and they were wanting to jump in and do all of these things all at once, and you were to say, okay, listen, this is all great. You need to do this for your future, but you need to actually just build your real estate sales practice, right? What would you tell them to do? What's just the thing that maybe they want to hear, maybe they don't want to hear, that would be your advice as the foundation for getting where you've gotten?
I think at a very basic level, you need to wow your clients. It could be something as simple as going over at 8 o'clock on a night to install a thermostat because the seller stole the last one, or whatever may have happened.
Yeah.
Or having that person in your pocket that you can call to go service that or do that. You don't actually have to do the work. But I would say you need to wow your clients as an agent, and then that's going to make them feel better. And I think it was Maya Angelou who said, people don't remember what you do or how you, what is it? People don't remember what you do or what you say, but they remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And so if you can go above and beyond and make them feel, wow, Reed really cares for us, then they're going to tell other people about that. So I know that's not an easy thing to, put it in your little 135 and go into your business plan, but like, that's it. When something comes up, you need to be the hero and put your cape on. And at the office, Stephen and I will joke about it. Like, hey, I'm putting my cape on. I'm going to go install a thermostat. Or whatever the situation may be.
It's interesting because it actually strikes me as the same discipline that you have as an investor. And that is that I'm not installing a thermostat. I am doing something now that will pay off throughout the next 10 years with their referrals and their children and their friends, right? Mm-hmm. It really is an investment, mm-hmm. right? It seems like the same mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to look at each seller that you're servicing as, how am I going to make them open their mouth and tell everyone else in their network about how great it was working with us?
So is there anything else that would just be kind of like wisdom that you want to impart to an agent to help them get from where they are to where you are? That sounds pretentious, doesn't it? The reality is, like, you're at a place that anybody in this industry should want to be.
I guess I'll say don't be pretentious. Stay grateful. I truly think that's a superpower, is to stay grateful and let people know you're grateful. Send them note cards. I make a daily habit of sending out grateful cards or thank you cards or something along those lines. But I almost think that I do that for a selfish reason. It makes me feel really good. It puts me in a super positive mindset to appreciate people and let them know how much I appreciate them or what traits I appreciate about them. And then I just find myself having a good day. So I like to do that every morning. I go into the office and I write some thank you cards, and I think it makes people feel pretty good and shows appreciation.
I love it. One of the things you said there I thought was really great is I think a lot of people see themselves as grateful or giving, but it's different being grateful, which is already great, mm-hmm. and other people actually experiencing it because you took action on your gratitude. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the extension of that superpower, it seems like.
Maybe so. I think I came across it accidentally. I've always kind of written thank you cards, but I just kind of noticed, wow, this actually makes me feel good. And whenever that clicked, I was like, I'm going to do this more because this really helps me. And if it's making them feel good too, then that makes me feel good to make them feel good. And it's not fake.
Yeah.
My thank you cards are something that I genuinely appreciate with them. It's usually like, hey, Reed, I appreciated the way that you handled XYZ, or it's something about them that I'm showing gratitude towards.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the way that you go about life and business, how organic it seems, and just the incredible amount of success that you've had doing it that way consistently over the years. So, man, thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and knowledge. And you're definitely a master of the craft, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, finishing up here with John Thomas Sinclair. Thank you for being here for another Master Series. As always, we're here to impact, empower, and encourage you in your real estate career. Take care, everybody.